Hello, my koala knits and knacks friends. This is Shelly. Thank you for joining me in this tutorial. I had fun making these slippers, and I know you're going to love them if you decide to make a pair. I have a crocheted pair of Happy Feet moccasins on my channel, and one of my subscribers, Daphne C, shout out to you, girl, asked me if I would do the same pattern or one similar on the knitting machines. And I thought, sure, yeah, I can do that. So here it is, Daphne. I hope you and many others love this pattern. I am using Loops and Threads Impressions yarn in the color Tapestry. It is a bulky 5. You only need one ball and you'll have a little bit left over when you're done. It is 246 yards or 150 gram ball, for those of you who need to know that. And they just are so much fun to make. It doesn't take long at all, and they are very cozy and comfortable. Being that they are made with a bulky 5, they do turn out a little bit bigger than if you were to make them with a 4-weight yarn, with a worsted weight yarn. And so with the pattern directions that I give you in this video, just know that for me, I have a size 6 foot, and I think that these are a bit big. I would probably, if you're a 5 or a 6, then you're going to want to decrease your rows by if you're using the bulky yarn, by 4 or 5 probably rows. I think these would fit probably a 7, 8 perfectly. If you're a little bit bigger, you might want to add a couple of rows. But you'll just have to do a trial and error, because I'm not a professional at all the different sizes. I only made the one size for myself. So that gives you a ballpark idea. But I hope you enjoy this tutorial. These slippers are very, very cozy and comfortable, and will make an excellent gift should you choose to make them for someone. If you do a lot of craft sales, it might be another thing that you want to consider, because I think it would really sell well. They fit beautifully, they look great, and they're just very, very comfortable and fun to make. So thanks again for joining me, my friends. Once you have your supplies ready, then we'll get started. I used my 48 needle Central and my 22 needle Addi. You can use your 46 needle Addi instead of your 48 needle Central if that's what you have. Next time I make them, I will likely use my Addi, because I think it likes the yarn better than my Central does, to be honest with you. But both machines will work great for this pattern. So join me and let's have fun making them. All right, my friends, so if you're ready, we are going to get started. I've got my Susan Bates counter taped to the side of my machine there. I think I'm going to just jump up and see if you can see that in the camera. You can. Awesome. And I just click it every time I make a round, and that's how I keep track of my rows. Okay, so we are going to bring our last pink and our first white in line with our yarn feeder here. And if you haven't watched any of my videos before, I take a permanent black marker and mark that little divider in between, so I always see when it's coming around. Helps me to count my rows better, easier to notice when I'm getting to close to the beginning again. Okay, so you're gonna go behind that first white, in front of that next one, in front and behind and in front, all the way around, just like this. Okay, okay, and we're going to just continue in this motion till we get to the beginning. All right, so I'm almost there. Now you'll notice that I'm using this white one as my first. I was going to make mention of that at the very beginning. I use this at the first white. Really, if you get a magnifying glass and a bright light, you can see that this is actually needle 48 and this is needle 1, but I like to have this as my first one. It's just visually, it helps me. So I'm going to go in behind that last pink one there, okay? And then I'm going to put it in my yarn feeder. Then I'm going to set my counter to 0, which is what it's at. And you're going to go very slowly in the first round, just to make sure that those loops all drop down over those pink teeth, that they stay down, and that each needle picks up that yarn to work it, okay? Now with this yarn, because it's thicker, I literally go pretty much this slow the entire project. Because then it just works up so much nicer. So now I visually seen that white needle come by. I'm going to click my counter, actually to 2, because now I'm working on row 2. I don't count my cast on row, but I like to know what rows I'm working on, not what rows I'm finished. Okay, I'm just loosening my end here from my ball. So now I'm working on row 2. I'm watching as those loops come past this feeder to make sure they're down over those 2 pink teeth, and that this gets hooked, this working yarn gets hooked under that needle and taken down through that loop. Okay. I see my white needle coming up, and that one is going to give me some trouble. So there we go. Just held that down. Pass the white needle. Click my clicker. And you're going to do this for 45 rows. If you have a size 6, 7, even 8 foot. Like when I use 4-weight yarn, 45 rows is just the perfect length for my foot. And I have a exact size 6 foot. But with this thicker yarn, I find that they're a little bit bigger. So I think that this slipper will fit a size 6, 7, and stretch to an 8. And if you want it bigger or smaller, then you just adjust your rows. You might have to make, you know, trial and error the first one. And see what your row count should be, because I can't give you accurate row counts for other sizes. But I think this will fit a 6, 7, or 8. And you're seeing that I'm having to go a little bit slow because it's wanting to just really take its time. I'm not putting any tension on the working yarn from behind. I'm coming around to my white needle. I'm going to click my counter, and I'm going to keep going. And again, I'm going to go till I have 45 rows done. And when I get there, I'll see you back. Helping every needle down that doesn't want to go over those pink teeth, okay? All right, keep going, my friends, and I'll see you at row 45. Just a quick little insert here to show you that what I'm doing with this yarn, because it's a bit thicker, I'm just lightly pulling the edge down as it passes by that yarn feeder. It's only 45 rows, so this still is not going to take too much time, but I'm hardly pulling down, but just enough to help those teeth go over, that loop go over those 2 pink teeth, okay, before the needle picks up the yarn and takes it down. Just makes a little bit of a difference, okay? So I just thought I'd show you just a little technique that I'm using to make this work, rather than you know, put weights on and having to move them all the time. I just find this easier when it's just a limited amount of rows, okay? All right, see you when you get there. All right, so how did that go? I'm at row 45. I had to add some yarn there. Row 45, it's looking good. I never had one tucked stitch because I gave it some pressure as I was doing it. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off that yarn end, except for don't do what I just did. Cut it off long because you're going to need it to sew. So I'll have to add a piece when I'm sewing, and that's okay. You just need it to sew up the back of your slipper, that length, okay? So we are going to now, we are going to take our waste yarn. So just make it about, I don't know, 6 to 9 inches is all you really need. And we're going to put our waste yarn in there. We're going to put it between the last pink, the first white, if those are the same needles you're using, or whichever is your first and your last needle, okay? You're going to crank your handle. Because this is a 4-weight, it's a little bit different weight. Again, I'm going to go slowly. I want to make sure that it catches on every needle. I'm going to just give it some help here. Okay. And I'm going to do about 7 rows of waste yarn. I probably don't have to hold it here, but yarn at the end of the project unravels so easily. So if I can do this and you know, make sure that I'm not tucking any stitches here, then that's great, because this is Craft Smart yarn that I'm using. See, I dropped one there, so I'll fix that as I go. This is Craft Smart yarn that I'm using as waste yarn, and most machines don't like Craft Smart yarn, but I want to use it up, so I'm using it as waste yarn, and I'm just giving it a little bit of help here, so then I don't have to worry about tuck stitches, except for that one. Okay. Now where did it go? It's right here. Oh, that's okay. It can be tucked because it's just waste yarn. I'm just going to do a couple extra rows. Okay. This will be my last row. When I get to my last in my first needle, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off that waste yarn, put it between those 2 needles. Then we are going to crank our handle for 2 rotations. to release those stitches. There we go. Now they should come off with no problem. You just gotta be very gentle with your machine when you're using yarn that it doesn't like, and it works. Just a little bit of patience, and there you go, my friends. There's our piece. We're gonna stretch it out lengthwise, all the way across, and widthwise, okay? And then I'm gonna remove my machine, and I'll see you back. This yarn is absolutely beautiful. Like, it is gorgeous. And, oh, it's got a little flaw in it with a little bit of red, but that's okay, adds to it. And it's just such a beautiful weight for slippers and for this style of slipper, and it's just so nice, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're going to take our waste yarn end, we're going to have our two ends on the left, just like that, if you're right-handed. And then we're going to take two bobby pins. These are my stitch markers. And we're going to, the one that waste yarn is coming out of, that loop there, you're gonna put one right there. Then you're gonna go to the left of it, off to this side. And the loop that this yarn is attached to, so if I pull up on this loop, it's my working yarn. That's the loop I'm going to put this one in. That's loop 48, okay? This will be 1, this will be 48. So the very center over here would be stitches 24 and 25. So I'm going to count around. I'm going to count, making sure that your ends are out because you don't want to sew them in as you're going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. I'm going to go underneath 25. I'm going to count that as one worked stitch. Go under 24, that's 2. Bring it through the loop on my hook. I've worked 2 stitches now. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom, pick up that next stitch, count that as 3, put it through the loop on my hook, up to the top, take that next stitch, that's 4, put it through the loop on my hook. And I'm using a 5mm hook, by the way. This is 5, up to the top, 6. You have to help it because it's a little tight. 7, 8, and you're gonna do the same thing all the way down to the end. And when I get to 47, and you're gonna make sure you count, because if you miss one of these loops, once you take this waste yarn off, then it will start to unravel your row. That's why I counted from that very first loop that was on my hook, okay? And you're gonna count until you get to this bobby pin here. The first one that's at the bottom, closest to you, will be 47. This one at the top will be 48. So I'll see you when we get there. This is 47. I can pull up on that bobby pin, work that stitch, and then 48, pull up on that one to get underneath it. That's 48. Then with the end of my working yarn, I'm going to yarn over and pull it through that loop, okay? And tighten it. And there we go. We have our end closed. Now all you have to do is take this waste yarn and unravel it. But I'm going to show you a little trick. And I will give credit to one of my subscribers, Tina Norton, because she came up with this idea. You put your end, when it's this short, it doesn't matter, but you're going to have a longer end. And when you unravel your waste yarn, it's going to knot around this all the time. So you take this, you put it through that stitch, bring it out, put your finger under there so you have just a loop so you don't lose it all. And then when you take this off, like, look at this. It doesn't wrap around your end. And when you're done, you just pull it out, okay? Such a simple trick, but I like to share it because I think it's a brilliant idea. So I'm going to wrap this up as I go, and I'm going to continue pulling off my waste yarn, and I'll see you when I'm done. I went and attached another piece of yarn. It's not quite at the corner, but I attached another one and hid my end, so I'm ready to go. What we're going to do from here is we're going to just leave this. So I'm just going to hook that in there just like that for now. We're going to go to the other side. I'm going to just raise my camera just a smidgen here. We're at the other side, and we're going to pull on that yarn end to close, okay? So as you're pulling it, you're going to unravel this because it's thick, so it likes to curl, okay? So unravel it so you have a nice smooth edge. Being careful not to break your yarn. Okay, keep going.
just like that. Then you're going to take your needle and we're going to reinforce it so that it closes even more because I don't want to break that end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start picking up the stitches from the top row all the way around. And then I pull a little bit. This reinforces the toe, which is great because, let's face it, you're going to be wearing these all the time and there's lots of wear and tear at that area. So this is going to help you to keep your slippers longer, but it also helps us close it tighter without breaking this yarn end, okay? So I'm going to pull, then I'm going to smooth it out so I can see that top row. Go again. Getting underneath those stitches and pulling. And you're not going to cut this off when you're done because this is what we use to sew. Okay, and then we're going to just pick up a few more. And I'm just going to keep going around, picking up a couple stitches at a time until I can get that hole closed, okay? Almost there, but I'm just going to do it a couple more times until I can close it to where I like it, okay? All right, so there we have it. Now I'm going to just pick up one little strand, and the side that we're working on here is going to be the outside of our, or the inside of our slipper, okay? That's one little knot. So we're sewing this on the inside is, we're going to flip it out and that's going to be the right side so that we can do all of our sewing on this side. So we're going to just smooth this all out. Okay, so it's just nice. You've got your circle at the toe and then you have all of this all smoothed out, and that helps to fix the looks of your toe there, okay? So just play with it until you can smooth it all out and bring all the right edges up to where they need to be, and then we're going to move over to this side again, okay? So we're going to leave that side, come over this side. We're going to begin sewing the end closed, okay? So we're going to fold it in half. We're going to I'm going to come back. I don't know how come that ended up over there, but it did. So I'm going to just come back over here and pick up the top row of stitches, get that in line. Then we're going to go through this row here and then over to that second side and pull it through, okay? I come over and do it again. I find that it reinforces it better and you've got a stronger seam, okay? Pull it tight underneath this top row of stitches and into that second row, or the bottom row, I should say. Okay, this is the bottom row because it's, well, it depends how you're looking at it. You're going to just go through both layers, okay? So through the stitches here, and then through both stitches there, both bars there. And then over we go, back in the same side we started, and pull it tight. You're going to do that all the way down to the bottom, okay? Don't be afraid to grab a good piece because you want a nice closed section, okay? And then we're going, I mean, don't go too far down. Just want to pick up the top 2 bars basically, but if you grab a little bit more, it's okay. Bring my camera a little bit lower because now once we have that all beautifully sewn, so this is the inside. That's the right side. Look how gorgeous that is. We're going to make a little heel on this. We don't want just the pointy heel there. So we're going to take, I'm going to just put it like this, okay? This is our seam. We're going to take this little point and we're going to flip it up. And then after we flip it up, we're going to sew it down to that seam. Go into there. Got my point sewed up. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to attach the sides. Just picking up the first layer. Don't go on this part. Don't go in through both layers, okay? Because you don't want to see this seam. Just like that. All the way down. Only takes 4 or 5, maybe 6 stitches. I think this was 4 for me. Okay. Then I'm going to just tie one little knot like that. Then I'm going to trail this through, and by tying the knot, then it's not, when I pull on it to this side, it's not going to pull on that side there, okay? Then I'm going to come up. It just gives it some extra security there. And I'm going to sew this side in the same way, up to the point, tie a knot. Just like that. And I'll show you what that does. Okay, so tie one little knot. I just do one and I tie it really tight, and then I go back one way, and this is the second way, and then one more, and then I know it's not going to come loose because I don't want a double knot there because I don't want to feel that on my foot. Okay, so that's how I do that. Cut that off, and then you'll see when you flip it over, like this is going to be the right side. When you flip it over, you've got a nice heel there. It's a nice square heel. I don't know if you can see that with this camera angle, but anyways, it's great that way. So I'm going to now turn it back so that's that I'm working on the other side. We are going to follow the row down, the very side row here, making sure that the wide part of the V, we're going to sew from this side up to here, up this way. So making sure that the wide part of your V-stitch is going to the left. So if that means you have to roll this up a half a row just to make sure that you've got that in line the way you want it. So the wide part of the stitch is going that way. And you're going to find that same one on this side. So smooth this up so you get the very top edge. But if for me, I have to curl this up. Wait, hang on one second. Let's see. So this is the one I'm going to take. So then you just curl it up so that it matches. Going to stay on that same row. Tuck that all down in there so it's nice and flat. So I have my sewing row set up, okay, so that the that turned. 1 second. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to find that row and fix it, okay? It's the one that's coming at the top here, closest to the heel. So then that's how you know which one to choose. I just had it turned a little bit, okay? So then the wide part of the V is going to my left, and this row is lining up with the heel, and this row is lining up with the heel, and that's the row I'm going to work on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my needle onto my yarn end. We are going to just choose a section there just to get up to the 2 rows that you want, okay? It's not as important, like in this very beginning stage, you're not going to find the same row, okay? So you're just going to put your needle in, just pick up a stitch, just like that, until we can get that part closed and in line with the rows that we're working on, okay? So that's, for me, these 2 rows. So now that I'm up to where I can actually, let me see if I can focus this in for you a little bit. Now I'm up to the place where my rows were ready for me. I'm going to go in, pick up 2 bars, go across to the other side, go in to where I last came out, pick up 2 bars, go in on this side, staying on that same row where the wide part of the V is at the top, okay? And I'm going to go into that stitch. Oops, I twisted it. So I actually am 1 row over still there, but I'm going to just go down here. And it's okay. Once you get past the toe, then it, you know, you'll be able to see it better and it'll work out. So I'm not worried about that one little section there at all. It's not a big deal. Okay. But now that I'm further up, I'm going to stay on that 1 row. Okay. And I'm going to go up until it comes snug to my ankle. So I will be trying this on as I get further up. And I'm going to pull it tight after this next row, just like that. Then I'm going to pinch down here. I'm going to pull this, and that will close it up just like that. Okay, and because this is all gathered up in this section here, that's why it didn't really matter too much if you stayed on that same row. But then I like to get back on pattern when I get a little further up, okay? So I'm going to go in, pick up 2, Oh man, this when I have you know, this basic slipper down further on my channel as well. And it's called my Grandma Mary's slipper, because my grandma, she used to knit slippers, hand knit slippers, as any of you who are, you know, married with kids that are already older and out of the house, you will think of your grandmas as, I'm sure many of them knit and crochet, and you have fond memories of the slippers that they made. And I am reminded of my grandma when I do stuff like this, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful memories. Okay, I'm going to pinch just like that. Okay, then I'm going to put my foot in it, and I'm going to see if this lands where I want it to land, close to my ankle. Okay, so go ahead, put yours on and see where it lands. This is a camera shot of my foot. And I'm going to take mine so it's about like that. So not, if my foot is straight like that, so not really tight, but a little bit farther up. So wherever it's comfortable for you. And you're going to have to, you know, once we do that, then on our second slipper, we're going to count how many stitches were left, because we want to make them both the same on each slipper. So once you're finished this one, then I'll show you what we do for the second one. So for mine, when I have it sewn up to where I want it sewn, when I take this row that we were stitching up and I count how many stitches are left, there are 22 stitches from there to there. There are 22 stitches from there to there and 22 from there to there. So I have 44 stitches that are not worked along the brim of the top of my slipper there. And I need to know that, because that's how many rows I'm going to make for my next piece. Okay, so that's why I want to make both slippers the same. So this sewn up to here is where it's comfortable on my foot. And then I counted how many stitches were left. And in the circle, it's 44. So you're going to want to count yours and see where you're at. And then when you do your second slipper, you make sure it's the same. Okay. So this is my second slipper, and I started sewing up, but then I counted 22 stitches back on this side and 22 stitches back on this side, so that my opening here is going to be the same width as my other slipper. Okay. And then I'm going to just keep sewing until I get to that spot, okay, which I'm almost there. So I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to go into that stitch there. I'm going to pick it up here, and I'm going to go into that stitch. I'm going to take out these stitch markers. I'm going to pinch and pull. That's all nice and tight. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just knot this off. Again, this is the wrong side of my work. Not that it matters, because you really can't see it anyway. So, except for the inside where that little heel is, you can see that. So it does matter, actually. And then we're going to just hide our end. Just like so. So if you're ever confused as to which is the right side and the wrong side, the one where we sewed up the heel, and it's hard to even see, but where we sewed that heel up there, that's the inside of our slipper, okay? So now that we have that done, and I have my second one done, and the colors didn't come out the same from the ball, but that's okay, because they still are coordinating. So in this instance, it doesn't bother me, okay? And so how come my camera is so, it looks like it's so close. So there we have both of our slippers, and you can leave them up like that, and that's our Grandma Mary slipper, and put a pom-pom on there. But we're going to go ahead and make these into a moccasin. So you are going to grab your 22 needle machine and your working yarn and some waste yarn, and we will see you back. Now that we have our machine set up, we're going to bring our last white, our first black needle in line with our feeder. We don't need to set our counter yet. We're going to take our waste yarn, go behind that first black needle, in front of the next, behind and in front, and cast on with our waste yarn. Okay, into that feeder, and you're going to knit as many rows of waste yarn as you're comfortable with. I'm going to do 7, or until this ball runs out. This is 3, 4, 5, and I have a knot. I'm going to do 7. This is 7 And before I get to the end, I'm going to set my counter to 0 so it's all ready for me. When I put my working yarn in, I'm going to cut off my yarn tail there, open my latch, put it between my last white, my first black. I'm going to take my working yarn, put it into that feeder in between the last white, the first black, and then we are going to knit 44 rows. So when we counted the stitches that were left around our ankle, I had the 22 on one side and the 22 on the other side. So that's 44 stitches that I need. So I'm going to do 44 rows for this piece. Now, if you've made yours a different size, then count the number of stitches that you have around your ankle, and that's how many rows you are going to make using your 22 needle machine. All right, so once you have your amount of rows that you need, you're going to take your waste yarn. First, you're going to cut off that working yarn. You're going to put it in between the last white, the first black. You're going to take your waste yarn, you're going to put it in there, and you're going to do, for me, I'm going to do 7 rows of waste yarn, okay? That's all I'm going to do because I ran out, so that's okay, because I'm going to close up that end first. And then you turn your barrel twice to release your stitches. Go back and take off any that are giving you some trouble. Then we're going to stretch this widthwise and lengthwise like we do every piece we take off of our machines. Then what I'm going to do is remove my machine, and I'm going to put this aside because I am tired. I'm going to bed. I've had a long day. I made 19 dozen pierogies today. Oh, it was such a good feeling when it was done. I wish I could have you all over for lunch. But anyways, I'm going to go lay my head on that pillow, have a great night's sleep, and I will see you in the morning and we will finish these. And for you, if you're still in the middle of your day, then I hope that you're having a wonderful day. So see you tomorrow, my friends, which is really in camera time in a few seconds. Well, good morning, my friends. I had such a great sleep. Nice to be back with you. Had breakfast. It's the middle of the morning. I've got lots done already. And now I'm going to work on closing this tube with you. All right, so as you can see, my stitches are really loose around that waste yarn. That's because I did it once already and it wasn't recording. So I took it out so that I could do it with you. Okay, this is the end of our project. We're going to look for that waste yarn that's trailing. We're going to put that's trailing through that loop. We're going to put a stitch marker in that first loop. Okay, we've done this already on the other piece. Okay, then where this yarn end is, you follow that up and it's this loop right here. If you pull on that loop, it's attached to this, and that's our first and that's our 22nd. We're going to turn around to the other side, which is, and we've closed these up, this side up before, so I'm going to just ignore that one. You can go around to stitch 11 and 12 and then work your way up. Okay, but for this side, this is the beginning of our project, a little bit different. So where our waste yarn is coming up out of the project, just like that, if you pull on it, it's coming through this loop right here. So this waste yarn is coming through this loop. That is number 1. Okay, so again, the other side you do just like we previously had done on our slipper. Okay, and so where this waste yarn is, where this working yarn is coming out of here, you look right to the side, right beside it, and there's that loop right there. That's your 22nd stitch. Okay, so we're going to count around to 11 and 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. These are our very side stitches, just like this. Okay, we're going to put our hook under 12. We're going to pick up 11, and we're going to work our way back and close all 22 stitches, just like we did on our slipper. We're going to yarn over with our working end when we get to the end, pull it through to tighten off, just like we did before, and that's how you close this end. Okay. And then once I get that closed, we will remove the waste yarn. Now again, you can choose to do a different closure. You can close these two together like that and then not have to sew them up later. But this is, you know, how we closed the other end of our slipper and then sewed it up, and I want the seam to look exactly the same. So in the back of the slipper. So we're going to do it this way. And not only that, I like doing it this way. On infinity scarves, I do it the other way. but we're going to just close it up normally like this till we get to the end here. That's 19. That's 20. This bottom one, pull it up because it's tight already. That's 21. Pull up on this one. This is another reason why I just love bobby pins. Yarn over, pull it through, and we've got that one fastened off. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and remove this waste yarn. The other one just unravels very easily, but for this one, you roll it up to the very top of the row, and you see where that that loop is just over that very top row. You can see when I wiggle it. I'm gonna pinch the stitch and pull out the end. I'm gonna go over about 5 or 6 stitches, roll it up to the very top, make sure it's a top, because if you have the second row, you'll get a knot. And then I'm gonna pinch the stitch, pull that out, go around 5 or 6 stitches down, pinch the stitch, pull it out, pinch the stitch. This is just for the first row, okay? And once that is done, then you can just go ahead and unravel that. Okay, go ahead and do that to both sides, and I'll see you when you're done. All right, so once your ends are closed up, and I hid the shorter end on this side, and I'm going to use this one. Hopefully it's long enough so I don't have to attach another piece of yarn. I often do that. I try to save yarn, and then I sometimes cut them off too short. Then we're going to fold that in half, and we're going to sew it just like we sewed the back of our slipper. Through and through. It's my husband doing the lawn again outside. You can hear that through the window. And then through and pull. Pick up the first row. Just 2 loops on each. Just like that. And work your way all the way down, okay? And if you have a longer piece of yarn than what I'm working with, then don't cut it off, because you will use it for sewing. I'm going to have to attach one again when I get to the end here, probably even before. Okay, so go ahead, finish that all the way down to the end on both of your pieces, and I will meet you back. All right, so I've got my 2 pieces that are like that. I've got my 2 slippers, just like that. And now we're going to assemble and do our fringe, and we're done. Now I'm just going to decide which one do I want to put where. Let me just raise my camera. Because these slippers do look a little bit different in their color, like they match, but their coloring here is the same, but here it's a little bit different. This one looks more like this one, and that one kind of looks more, well, you know, if I rotate it, you've got both colors in there, I guess. But I'm thinking this one's got a bit more of the yellow tinge in it. So I think I'm going to try to bring some of this color into this one and put the yellow one there and put that one there, okay? But it doesn't really matter. Maybe that's just being a little too picky, but you choose which one, how you want to match them up, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew them on. And to do that, we are going to need to put some yarn on our needle. All right, making sure the wrong side, this is the wrong side of the slipper, is on the outside. And it doesn't really matter which one this is because both sides are the same. We're gonna tuck that in there. It's just that I wanna be sewing on the wrong side. I'm going to line up the seam of the cuff to the seam of the slipper, just like that, okay? And tuck it in there nicely, just like that. Now you could do a braided join if you wanted, but it's probably not the best one for this. You could do an invisible join. You could do just the same stitch that we did to close up the ends, whatever you prefer. For me, I think I'm going to choose just the same stitch that we did the ends with, okay? But I'm going to make sure this is just nice and that row is all nice and even around there, just so that I know that it's not twisted, okay? Tuck that inside like that. Then I'm going to start at the back, just like so. Okay, and from there, I'm going to just pick up the top and pick up the top. And I'm going to sew them on. I don't want any puckering, so I'm gonna make it tight, but I'm not going to pull on it so hard that I gather it or, you know, take it out of its shape. And then we're going to just go through each stitch. There should be 44 stitches on each piece, and we're gonna go right around just like this until we meet to the other end. Actually, I'll see you when I get to the front corner here, and then we'll finish it off. Coming up to the front corner here, I just want to make sure that I get into that very front piece, right where it begins to turn, and then I pick up a stitch there. Okay, and then you just keep going around. And it will all line up beautifully because you have the same amount of stitches on both shoes. That's what, or both pieces. That's why I told you to count around your rim and see how it worked for you. And then that's how many rows you do on your smaller machine. Okay, so keep going till you get to the end, tie it off, hide your ends, do it for your next slipper, and I'll see you back. All right, so this is what they look like on. Do a little bit of foot modeling here for you. They are so nice. So soft. They're cushy. They're so comfortable. Okay, I'm gonna just fix this little piece right here. I can see when I'm looking down on them that I need to sew that a little bit better. Now you can leave them just like this. You can fold this down if you want a shorter cuff. Hope I can see that. And it looks great. But these are going to be moccasins, and moccasins have to have tassels, or not tassels, but fringes. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the fringes to these cozy, comfy moccasins. So take them off. Like these I turned around so you can see. I'm going to show you if I can get my foot angle there. You can see how nice and rounded and flat that is. It's not a point sticking out of the back of your shoe because of the way we did the heel on the inside. So you're going to want to make sure you do that. And again, I have a size 6 foot, and these feel like they are, you know, they look in the camera like they fit, but they feel a little big. So just use that as your guide, and they will stretch a lot width-wise and length-wise. So these are going to fit this particular size, just 45 rows, is going to fit a large number of shoe sizes. So you don't have to make too many adjustments to them. Maybe if you have a size 9 or 10 foot, you might want to add 2 or 3 rows. I would say that's probably all you're going to need. Just my guess, though. All right, so here we go. Happy feet. Let's move on and do our fringe. Fringes are so fun. For this one, we're going to use a 4-inch piece of cardboard. And we're going to have a 4-inch fringe. So then when we wrap it, like it's 4 inches from here to here. That's how wide this cardboard is. And then when we wrap it around, let me just grab my yarn. This is all I have left. I already did half of the fringes. And I will have a little bit, I will still have some left off that one ball. We're done. But you're going to lay your fringe across like that and wrap it, go straight up and down and wrap it over. Okay? And you're going to just keep wrapping just like this. Going straight up and down. Oops. Until you get as many fringes as you want. I'm trying to hold it under the camera here and I'm obviously struggling. Okay, so when you wrap it around, we're going to cut it in one specific place. So I'm going to just leave it at that for now, okay? I'm going to cut it there, 2 places. So I'm going to cut the end off, but then from here to here is 4 inches, but then from there to there is 4 inches. So this is 8 inches once we cut it. Doesn't matter if you cut it down here, in the middle, wherever. What matters is that you just do one cut, okay? And when you do one cut, you will have a piece that is 8 inches long, okay? But then when we fold it in half and add it to our slipper, we've got a 4-inch fringe again, okay? So I'm going to cut a few more so that I have several different colors to choose from, and I can intermingle the colors for the fringe. Not just have one slipper with one color, okay? So I'm going to keep going because I think there's some bluish, grayish kind of, let me see here. I'm going to do this one. So put it on there, then wrap. Problem with the last time is I went too far to the middle. And you just keep wrapping straight up and down. Doesn't matter if you layer it a couple times. I love the fact that you can make this slipper with the fringe with one ball of yarn. It's awesome. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to cut that off. One snip somewhere in there. Okay, there's always a little end that's not the right size, but that's okay. We just throw that one out. All right, and now we're going to add our fringe to our slipper. Okay, so grab your crochet hook. I'm using a 5mm, but you can grab whatever size you want. It really honestly doesn't matter. And then we will begin. All right, so I have my slipper. I've done one fringe. I'm going to show you how you do the next one. You're going to take your piece, you're going to fold it in half, loop it over your finger, put your hook into the stitch, grabbing 2 bars, hook over that loop, bring it through that stitch, yarn over and bring it through that loop. Okay, then what that's doing is it's putting that bar of the fringe to the front. On blankets, we go from the back to the front, and so that this little loop is at the front, but it's weird that we're going from the front to the back with this one, but that's how it works. Okay, gonna go into the next stitch. It's because of the way it's hanging, I guess. I don't know why it is, but it's a science thing. I'm gonna have to go and look at one of my blankets and see. Okay, there we go. It's because you're going into a blanket from this way, and this is the edge and it's hanging down here. So then you would come up to the front. So I already figured it out. So there you go. You're welcome. Okay, so there we go. And then we're going to take another one and we're going to go into the next stitch. Sometimes if they're really close, like that's really close, I'm going to go into the next one. So just evenly space it out. And then if I feel it looks like it's got a space, then I'll go back into it and finish it. But we're going to separate the strands on these, so it's going to make them fluffy too. So every once in a while, if you have to miss one, like I said, I missed this one right in there, just so that it sits nice, okay? And you're just going to continue all the way around your slipper, okay? This is a wider stitch, so for some reason, so I am going to go into that next one. Mostly it's going to be every stitch, but you don't want them sitting on top of each other because it's so thick and crowded, okay? So keep going. Get this done around the whole edging of both slippers, and when you're done, I will see you back. So much fun. I love it. All right, so we got all our fringes on, and I've started separating them so you can see the difference, okay? These are the ones that aren't separated, and these are the ones that are. It just gives it a softer look. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take one of your fringes. You're going to just start picking it apart. So take a needle, a blunt-ended needle, not too sharp is better, otherwise it snags. And then you just take it down, okay? Sometimes I go from behind and just pick up on that one strand, or you can pull it apart like this and just unwind it. That works too, and sometimes it's even faster. Okay, got 2 separate pieces there. Then you take your next one, start at the bottom, separate it, and separate it. Go underneath that gray piece there. Be prepared to sit and do this for a while, because it does take some time. And I find that, unwinding it probably is the quickest. Just like that, okay? But then it just looks so beautiful. It's a lot nicer. It's a lot softer looking. And when you have the whole thing done, it's even more so, okay? But, you know, I will say that sometimes it does take a little bit of time. See, if I can just catch underneath that, the one strand and pull down, then it's good. So you just work at it. Take your time. Enjoy the process. And it's just so pretty. It's just, you see all the colors just softly come together, okay? And if there's one that's really long like that, then I'll just trim it off. But for the most part, I'll let it be a little jagged. So you're gonna go ahead and do that with all of your strands around both slippers, and then I'll see you back.
So that actually didn't take as long as I thought it would take. It took me, I think, about 45 minutes maybe 40 minutes to do both slippers. And once I got the hang of it, they just unraveled really nicely. So I hope the same thing happens for you. So anyways, here they are. I'm loving them. I think they look very pretty. Very nice. My feet are happy, and I know yours will be too. So thanks again for joining me, my friends. I really appreciate the support that you're giving me on my channel. It means a lot to me. Please hit that like button because it helps to circulate my video. And share it wherever you can, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks again, my friends. I appreciate you so much. Take care and have a wonderful day.